Okay, so welcome back to the deep dive, and this time you've given us something really fascinating to work with.
Absolutely.
And it's a standalone episode, but man, it just keeps coming up over and over again in the world of the X-Files. And
right.
We're going to be talking about season 1, episode 13, Beyond the Sea. And we have all the information you've provided for us, all those episode summaries and behind-the-scenes details.
Yes.
And the critical analysis, and wow.
There's a lot.
There's a lot there.
Yeah, Beyond the Sea has always been an episode that's kind of resonated, with fans and critics alike. And it's really interesting to kind of dive deep into why that is.
Yeah. I mean, even the title itself, Beyond the Sea, there's something kind of mysterious and haunting. Yeah, and otherworldly about it. So like we dive right into the story, and Scully is dealing with something intensely personal right at the beginning.
Absolutely. This is you hit it right on the head right away. This is Scully's episode.
Right.
She's dealing with the death of her father. We see her experiencing something that we don't know if it's a vision or a presence or just some kind of way of dealing with her grief.
Right.
And that is kind of the emotional through line for the entire episode.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden we're thrown into this kidnapping case in North Carolina.
Yeah.
And Luther Lee Boggs, this death row inmate who claims to have this psychic connection to the case, and Mulder is oddly skeptical about this.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because he is the believer.
Right.
You would expect Scully to be the one who's like, oh, there's no way this guy can, see these things from prison.
Right.
But it's the opposite, and I think that really speaks to the fact that Scully is in such a vulnerable place at this time that she's actually open to the possibility. Whereas Mulder is almost kind of retreating to logic and reason as a way to protect himself.
Yeah, like he's being the rock for her.
Exactly.
In a way. Yeah, so they go to meet Boggs in prison.
Yeah.
And they even set up a test, right? Like they use Mulder's own T-shirt to try to see if Boggs is the real deal.
Right.
And it kind of seems at first like he's not.
Yeah.
But then the music starts, Beyond the Sea starts playing.
That song.
Oh, and this is like a really key moment because that song is so connected to Scully and her father's memory.
Absolutely. It was played at his funeral, and she is immediately transported back to that time and place.
Right.
And, and this time she has a vision of her father. It's much more vivid than the one before.
Yeah.
And she keeps it to herself.
Yeah. And that's so important.
Yeah.
Because it's like...
Well, what does that tell you about her?
I don't know. I think it's like she's trying to process it all and she's not sure what to make of it.
Right. And she can't even go to Mulder with it at this point because he is so skeptical.
Exactly. So meanwhile, Mulder... is still trying to solve this rationally. He sets up this whole thing with the fake newspaper to see if Boggs has any accomplices out there.
That's classic Mulder, right? Like trying to, figure out the real world explanations.
Exactly.
But
Scully.
Yeah, Scully's going in a different direction.
She's following these vague clues that Boggs is giving her. And it's almost like a part of her believes him.
Yeah.
Like she's drawn to this.
Even though her rational mind is telling her.
Yeah.
This is crazy. This guy's a convicted murderer.
Right.
But something's pulling her towards it.
Yeah, and it leads her to that warehouse and then to the boathouse.
Right.
Where Mulder ends up getting shot.
Which is, a pretty big consequence of his skepticism in this case.
Right. And then Boggs gives them even more information.
Right.
He tells them about the brewery and he warns them about the Blue Devil.
Yes. It's almost like a riddle, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And then
creepy.
It's creepy. Yeah. And then it's like all these pieces fall into place.
Right.
They go to the brewery. They rescue the boyfriend.
Right.
And the kidnapper falls from the gantry with the Blue Devil logo on it.
It's like Boggs was telling the truth.
Yeah. It's scary.
Yeah.
So then Scully goes back to Boggs.
Yeah.
And she's really questioning him now. Like,
right. She's like, is he?
Are you playing me?
Are you the mastermind behind all this?
Did you set this whole thing up?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Boggs does something really messed up.
Oh, yeah.
He offers to give her a message from her father.
Yeah.
In exchange for her being at his execution.
Talk about manipulation.
Right.
Right? He's playing on her deepest desire.
Yeah, it's awful.
Which is to connect with her dad one last time.
Yeah. But Scully, she doesn't give in.
No.
She goes to the hospital to see Mulder. And
she realizes that Boggs probably just figured out information about her father and was using it against her.
Yeah, he was playing her.
And she tells Mulder that she already knows what her father would say.
Right.
And that's a really powerful moment.
It is, because it shows that even though she was tempted,
Right.
she's not going to let Boggs win.
Right.
She's going to rely on her own memories of her father.
Right.
And her own strength.
Yeah, it's like she's come full circle.
Exactly.
So we've got this really interesting role reversal going on between Mulder and Scully.
Yeah.
And it's not just like a surface level thing.
Yeah.
It really reveals a lot about their personalities.
It does. And I think what's really interesting is that it kind of forces us as viewers to question our own assumptions about belief and skepticism.
Right.
You know, Scully, who is normally so grounded in science, is actually the one who's open to the possibility of the psychic connection.
Right.
And Mulder, who is always searching for the truth, is the one who's kind of clinging to logic.
Right.
And I think that speaks to the fact that our own beliefs can be challenged and changed by our experiences.
Yeah, totally. And this episode also sets up this big theme that we see throughout this series of father figures in Scully's life.
Right.
Like her need for her father's approval.
Right.
And how that plays out in her interactions with other men in authority.
Absolutely.
Do you think that starts here?
I think so. I think this episode really lays the groundwork for that.
Right.
You know, we see how much she wants to make her father proud.
Right.
And how she is struggling with his loss.
Yeah.
And that kind of sets the stage for her relationships with other men in the FBI, with Skinner, with Mulder even.
Right.
You know, there's always this tension there.
Yeah. And even though this episode doesn't explicitly talk about religion,
right,
the sources point out that it kind of foreshadows Scully's later struggles with faith.
It's like we're seeing the beginnings of that internal conflict that she has between science and faith.
Right.
You know, this episode is really about grief and loss and how those things can challenge our beliefs.
Right.
But it's also about the power of human connection.
Yeah.
You know, in the end, Scully chooses to trust her own memories of her father, rather than the manipulations of Boggs.
Right.
And that's a really powerful message.
Okay, so let's go behind the scenes now.
Yeah, let's do it.
Because your research has turned up some really interesting stuff.
Oh, absolutely. Beyond the Sea.
About how this episode came to be.
Was kind of a turning point for the show in a lot of ways.
Right.
It was really a response to some of the early criticism that the show was getting, that Scully wasn't being given enough to do.
Yeah, and she's just the skeptic all the time.
Yeah, she was kind of seen as just the skeptic, the naysayer.
Right.
And so the writers, Glenn Morgan and James Wong, they really wanted to give Gillian Anderson a chance to shine.
Right.
And to show her dramatic range.
Yeah.
But the network wasn't so keen on the idea.
Really?
Yeah, they were worried about deviating from the formula.
Interesting.
You know, they wanted the monster of the week. Right. They wanted the paranormal investigations.
Right.
And this was something different.
Right.
It was much more character driven.
Yeah. But luckily, Chris Carter really fought for it.
Chris Carter was like, nope. We're doing this episode.
Yeah, he was like, this is important.
Yeah, this is important for Scully's character.
This is important for the show.
This is important for the show.
Yeah, wow. So, and then you've got the casting, which is also really fascinating.
Oh, yeah. The casting is amazing in this episode.
You've got Don Davis playing Scully's father.
Yeah.
Who was also in Twin Peaks.
Right. Like a great show.
Another great show. And then Sheila Larkin, who plays Scully's mother. She's married to the show's co-executive producer, R.W. Goodwin.
Yeah, there's all these little connections.
Yeah, it's like a family affair.
Yeah, it's like a family affair.
But the biggest casting story has to be Brad Dourif as Luther Lee Boggs.
Oh my gosh.
Like, they really wanted him for the role.
They were determined. They were like, Brad Dourif or bust.
And there were all these obstacles.
Right.
Budget concerns.
Yeah, they were worried about the cost.
Yeah. Doris himself was hesitant because he didn't have a lot of time to prepare.
Yeah, he was like, I don't know if I can do this.
I need more time.
I need more time.
Yeah.
But Chris Carter was not giving up.
Right.
He actually went to Dourif's house on Thanksgiving.
No way.
To convince him to take the role.
Wow. That's dedication.
That is dedication.
Yeah.
And it paid off.
It did.
Because Dourif's performance is incredible.
Yeah.
He's so creepy and so unsettling.
And you found this great anecdote about his method acting.
Oh, yeah. He was doing these deep breathing exercises to get into character, and he would turn his face purple.
It's amazing.
It's like he was really becoming Boggs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's no wonder that this episode is a favorite of so many people involved.
You're right.
Chris Carter.
Gillian Anderson.
And
Morgan.
Glenn Morgan.
And Morgan.
David Nutter, who directed it.
Yeah, he said it was his most accomplished work with actors.
Wow.
Which is saying something.
It is.
He directed some amazing episodes of The X-Files.
He did. Yeah, and even the title Beyond the Sea.
Yeah.
It's not just a random title.
No.
It's the song that played at Scully's father's funeral.
Right.
It's so connected to the themes of the episode.
It is about loss, memory, and the possibility of something beyond this life.
Yeah, and the character of Boggs himself was loosely inspired by real-life killers.
Yeah, like Ted Bundy.
Ted Bundy, who offered to help with the Green River Killer case.
Right.
Like, he thought he could use his psychic abilities to solve the crimes.
Yeah, it's creepy.
Yeah, it is.
And the name Luther Lee Boggs and the other alias that he uses, Lucas Henry.
Right.
Those are taken from the serial killer, Henry Lee Lucas.
It's so disturbing. And Boggs' appearance is kind of reminiscent of Richard Ramirez.
Yeah, he's got that kind of gaunt, creepy look.
Yeah, and then there are all these other little details that the fans love.
Right.
Like Scully and her father calling each other Ahab and Starbuck.
Ooh, yeah, from Moby Dick.
And there are all these other references to Moby Dick throughout the series.
It's like a recurring motif.
Yeah, and then you see Max Fenig's NI-cap hat in Mulder's office.
Oh, yeah, that's a nice little Easter egg.
Yeah.
For the fans.
So they really put a lot of thought into all these details.
They did. They really crafted this episode carefully.
Yeah. And Boggs is even mentioned in the X-Files I Want to Believe movie.
He's not in it.
Right.
But they talk about him.
So he obviously made an impression.
Yeah, he did. And this was really Gillian Anderson's first big dramatic role in the show.
It really showed what she was capable of.
Right.
She had to carry a lot of the emotional weight of this episode, and she did it beautifully.
Yeah, and there was that initial worry about Brad Dourif.
Yeah.
That he might overshadow the leads.
Right. That he might be too intense.
Yeah. But in the end, his performance just elevated the whole thing.
It did. It really did.
Yeah. So yeah, Beyond the Sea, it's considered one of the best standalone episodes of the X-Files.
Absolutely, and for good reason.
Yeah. It's got everything.
It does. It's got great characters.
Right.
It's got suspense. It's got emotion.
Right.
It's got great performances.
Yeah, it's got it all.
It's got it all.
So as we come to the end of our deep dive into Beyond the Sea, we've seen Scully's vulnerability.
Right.
Mulder's unexpected skepticism.
Yeah.
Brad Dourif's amazing performance as Boggs. Yeah, and a story that really goes beyond the typical monster of the week.
Yeah, it's a story that sticks with you.
Yeah, it does.
It makes you think about your own beliefs, about grief and loss.
Yeah.
About the power of memory.
Right. Yeah. So we'll leave you with this.
Okay.
Think about how your own personal experiences, especially those that involve loss, might influence your perception of the unexplained.
Right.
And in a world where we're often pressured to be certain about everything, is there room for both skepticism and wonder?
That's a great question.
Yeah, it is.
And it's one that Beyond the Sea really makes us grapple with.
Yeah, it does. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive.
My pleasure.
It's been a good one.
It has, yeah.
Yeah.